Hello, you guys. I hate to say this, but this part of the Arrancar arc has been my least favorite of Bleach so far. I'm so sorry, but I will say this. It had my favorite moment in Bleach so far. And actually, there were a lot of really strong moments, especially at the end of this section of the Arrancar arc, that were wonderful. And it's interesting that these moments were mixed in with a lot of pieces that I didn't like, but that gives us a lot to talk about, so let's talk about them. I have really missed talking to you all about Bleach. So welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. I am reading Bleach for the first time. I'm going through the manga in its entirety, and we're on chapters 241 through 315, and that is in the Arrancar arc. I was going to do only 2 videos on the Arrancar arc, but there's a lot in here that I want to talk about, even though the last few parts were my absolute favorite, and I just want to get there. There's still a lot that I want to make sure I tackle so I don't miss it by covering way too much. So that's how we're doing that. So just so you know where we're at in this part of the Arrancar arc, this section covers Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad invading Hueco Mundo to go save Orihime. And with that, all the Espadas, Hollows, and Arrancars they have to battle. And it ends with some of the captains coming to Hueco Mundo. It was amazing. And getting stuck there with Ichigo and the others. And the other captains are in Karakura town because Aizen is about to attack and it's going to be crazy. So that's where we begin and end in this section. Let's get into it. So we start off relatively strong. I'm pretty happy with what's going on because we have Uryu, Chad, and Ichigo. They make it into Hueco Mundo and they have their first encounter with a battle. And I loved this because we're facing Arrancars and Uryu and Chad take the lead. They decide to tell Ichigo, look, there are levels to these people and we got to start off by letting you kind of rest and we'll take this on because it's only going to get harder from here. And we get to see how they've grown as fighters. And it's really good seeing Chad in that light because I mentioned before, I want more for Chad constantly. And we've been getting it, but seeing him be able to really fight and then them being very strategic with switching who should fight which Arrancar. I was so proud of them. It went on maybe a little too long, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Now, if I would have known what we were going to have later with all the other fights, I may have not liked it as much. But for the start of it, I liked it. And I liked that Ichigo kind of got a break and they wanted to do it. Like they were telling him, we've got this. So that was cool. We then have the Las Noches entrance. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. I don't know what I was expecting entering Aizen's lair, place, whatever this is. I feel like I was expecting something crazier or more, I don't know, more technology just all around, but it was just a vast amount of land and a building. But it was kind of cool because it was almost like Mirage, like they couldn't get close to it, but they could. It was, I don't know, it was fine. In a way, when I think about it, it kind of fits Aizen's personality, like a bunch of stuff going on, but also nothing. Because we never know what's going on with Aizen, so it fit. We also get a lot of bantering with the boys, and it was weird going from the fights to them just being teenage boys, but then I love moments like that because you remember they're literally teenage boys and they're just in a crazy situation, so that was interesting. But then things take a little bit of a turn when we meet the new Hollows and Arrancar. I have mixed feelings about this because I loved Nell. I can't explain. Before I even knew the plot twist with this character, I loved her. She was the cutest little kid ever. I just wanted to squeeze her. And then we had Pesuke and Dondo Shaka and their pet. I loved that they have this found family aspect about them. Their dynamic at that point was sweet, but I was like, oh no, we're about to get a whole bunch of new characters and I don't even remember all the Espada's names. And I didn't not like it, but I could see a shift in the tone of the story and the direction of the story. And they're very chaotic characters and they add this humor that I'm not necessarily wanting in that moment, but I appreciate because I do enjoy their personalities, but I can see that this is going to kind of be a little bit wobbly, like things may be a little bit all over the place. And it wasn't, but it was. I don't know how to explain exactly what I'm trying to say. It just wasn't a consistent flow. I think that's what I mean. When I process who they are and what they really were doing and all of that, now it is cool to see how that developed. So in that sense, it was nice, but it threw off some of the energy for me. But I already loved Ichigo's dynamic with these characters because he's so funny with them. Really, they all were. And then they fight this big Hollow and enters Renji and Rukia. That made me so happy. And that's what happened in this arc. There were so many moments where I was like, okay, I could live without this. But then you have a moment like that and it's so exciting. The way they pulled up, the way they have this this loyalty for Ichigo. And there's such a comfort with these Soul Reapers. It's so strange how I didn't like so many of these people and now they make me feel safe. I just love these characters. I love it. So I was pumped when they came and then we split up. We split up and I'm like, no, because now we have 5 people. We have 5 people who I know are probably going to have their own issues and situations and they don't even team up. So I wasn't mad at it because I get it. We are dealing with some crazy people. We don't know where Orihime is. We don't know where people are going to pop out at. So it makes sense for the story, but also I didn't want it. I didn't want it, but it was okay. But what was so cute was Nell following Ichigo. I love it. I love her following him. Their dynamic immediately was so cute. Even when he was telling her bye, he's so sensitive. He has a lot of empathy. They already had this kind of bond, but it made me wonder now that we know the truth about Nell, if there's something else that was connecting her, because from a childlike perspective, I can see why she would want to be attached to Ichigo because he looks like, and he is a protector and she feels safe around him and she just admires him. But knowing that she's actually an adult, I wonder if there's something else that she just felt naturally bonded to, whether it's his abilities or there's some kind of family connection or just a connection through people that are connected to his family. I don't know, but it made me wonder that. But overall, I loved their bond. In the midst of this, we have some moments with Aizen and Ukiura and Orihime. And I will say, I wish those moments would have been longer. Anytime we see Aizen, I'm just like, what is this man thinking or not thinking or deliberating? And also Ukiura, he is very mysterious. I don't know how to feel about him. Like Aizen, I don't know how to feel about him because I don't know if he's trying to like blow everything up because he's bored or if he has a purpose. Ukiura, I can't tell if he's just a dedicated follower, if he has some underlying plans against Aizen, because when he talks to Orihime, we see another side of him, kind of, and it looks like he either despises her or likes her, like wants to not befriend her, but feels for her, but then he's so cold. It is a weird interaction. I don't know, but their dynamic is bizarre. Ukiura is a bizarre character. I like it though. Ichigo versus Dordani follows this, and this was one of my favorite fights. I feel like Ichigo's fights are always so layered with meaning and purpose and people who actually care about him by the time they're done fighting him. But there was also the mixture of Nell in this fight that brought something out of Ichigo. Dordoni wanted him. His whole goal was to get Ichigo to use his Bankai. And I hated seeing that because I was like, ooh, Ichigo was trying so hard to, preserve that because clearly there's a lot of people they're going to have to battle, but he had to use it soon because of Nell. Nell came in and when Ichigo was getting hurt, tried to help. Then she gets hurt and Ichigo's like, all right, Bankai time. I loved it. I loved everything about that. He's such a good person. Sometimes too much. I'm like, Ichigo, you need to be a little more selfish sometimes. But I get it. Not for Nell. I understood the Nell part. But what was cool about this fight is I ended up feeling for Dordoni because they fight. He loses because Ichigo's the best. Ichigo tries to heal him. He has Nell heal him. And when the man is healed, he starts fighting again, but it was to get Ichigo to realize that you can't try to help everybody, which is kind of what I was just saying. You're going to have to stay focused because Ichigo's heart is wonderful, but also sometimes I'm like, it's going to be your downfall because you gotta stay focused. I love that moment and I loved him and they killed him. They killed this other person who's supposed to be on their side and they're going to take him to, what did they say? Do research on him? I'm so sorry, but can we not? I do not understand the loyalty of the Espadas. If it's a thing, maybe it's not, but they all fight each other. I don't get it. They're not nice to each other. They're not nice to the Soul Reapers. I don't understand them. But anyway, I like that fight. Then we have Uryu versus Soruchi. Not my favorite fight. I thought she looked cool and it was awesome seeing how advanced Uryu's bow has gotten. I thought that was great, but I don't remember too much of what went on. I know he won. I know they obviously had a struggle at first, but we got to see how much he grew. And then what's his name? Pesque. He comes and he adds humor, but it's interesting because I like them. I like these extra characters, but they do also delay these moments. So I think that's what this arc kind of feels like sometimes. A lot of delay. And Bleach usually has really great pacing to me, so that threw me off a little bit. But yeah, and it's cool seeing Uryu on his own and how much he's grown. And I love when we get to see how beneficial having a Quincy is on our side. So I feel like his fights are necessary because we don't have any other Quincy's to look at except for his dad, hopefully in the future, and I'm sure there are more down the line. That's what I think. We're gonna find some, and it's gonna be great. It's so hard though when you're dealing with the non-main characters in a lot of fights in anime and manga, because for whatever reason, sometimes the heart that you have with the main characters fighting isn't with these other characters, even though they have a lot of heart. And I'm not saying, I feel like Bleach does it is one of the better series that make me feel for all these characters while they're fighting, but there's still this lack of depth sometimes that you have with them where it's like, I just kind of want to get it over with, or there are more silly antics going on within their fights, which again, comedic relief is fine, but keeping me engaged, it doesn't always do that. But proud of Uryu, of course. Then we have Chad versus Gantenbein. And again, it's not super memorable, but I was so proud of Chad because I'll remember that arm thing, how he's now utilizing both his arms for offense and defense. I guess I do remember it. Like, it was good. But why did they do this to Chad? Like, every time Chad is doing great, we have to like somehow knock him out, and then he's gone for most of the arc, which I don't mind per se because we have a lot going on, but we have to deal with all these other characters that I don't know, that I now have to know their names. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I have to know their faces, yada, yada, yada. And then Chad, who is one of our main people, is just always knocked out and gone. Like, why are we doing this to Chad? And I think it's great. I think it's great that we can see realistically that as much as Chad is working hard and he is getting better and better, he still lacks certain abilities that these others have. So it makes sense, but also like if we bring him, like let's let him bring it, you know? I don't know. He wins against his person and then gets beat by somebody else, and it's okay, Chad. I'm rooting for you. Rukia versus Arrancars. Very, very proud of her. There was a lot layered into this fight with the fact that he looked like Kaien. He resurrected himself as Kaien, but before that, we see that we can't tell. Rukia is trying to, assess, is this him? Is it not him? I was tricked for a second. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, oh, okay. But we had two moments where she noticed some things that were off. I do want Rukia to have more happy moments. Like, this had to have been traumatizing. We finally get to see her, she's not in the Soul Society about to be killed, but now she has to see the face of the man who she killed, who she cared about, and he's taunting her. He's like, it is me, and I'm gonna kill you. And she's like, okay, because she's such a good person. She's like, you can kill me, just let me find Orihime. And he's like, okay. Then he says, psych, no, I want you to kill your friends, and then we'll do whatever. And that tips her off. You are not him. Now she's in this position where she has to yet again kill the person that she loved. I mean, he's not him and we see him transform, but he looks like him. And I just feel for her. She's gonna need a long vacation, but she does a great job. I did like this, especially when they first were interacting, but I do think because we had so much going on, so many fights, so many things, I wish this was done maybe at a different time, like this idea, this concept, because I couldn't appreciate it the way that I really wanted to, because I knew there was craziness all around, and this was just a whole layered piece of crazy with Kaien thrown into it. But the moment was good for Rukia. I just love seeing her being able to fight and just be back to being a Soul Reaper. So, and she does get critically injured later. She's saved by the best, but until then she's hurt. So we continue. Renji versus, how do you say this name? Xyle Aporo. I'm gonna call him Aporo because I think they had his name like that in the manga. But look, I don't know what to make of him and what he does. All his plans to fight are so convoluted and layered. We have Parasite. We have him being able to see people's moves in advance. He can move people's body parts. He can make duplicates of people. It was a lot. It was like looking at a photo of a photo of a photo. It kept being layered no matter what they did, what he did to fight him. And later this just continues and continues. I like what Aporo can do. This went on way too long though for my liking. And then we had it when Uryu gets in. I don't know. In Renji, I want Renji utilized in a different way. I don't know how. I feel like Kenpachi, Kenpachi, we'll get into that. But I feel like with Kenpachi, he was allowed to lose to Ichigo and train and be back to being a maniac. Whereas I feel like with Renji, he was kind of similar, but we're seeing his growth, but I feel like he should be like more next to Ichigo. And he is, but I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. Aporo's crazy and they fight and Renji does some things, but he also loses and it's a lot happening. And Uryu joins eventually, and I will note that their dynamic was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. They really play off each other very well, and their abilities kind of worked well together, and they come up with a cool plan and they do cause some kind of explosion. They don't win, but they find a way to kind of get out for a second. So that's nice. But the fight continues and continues and continues. Now here's a fight that should have lasted longer, and that's Ichigo versus Ukiura. Obviously, Ichigo isn't ready to fight Ukiura, so I know it's not going to be exactly what I want, but we did get to see them interact, and I guess there's not a point in making it too long until Ichigo is at the level where he can take him on like that. But I was like, man, we kept some of these other fights going so long. This is the one. But one of the coolest parts about this was learning that he is not even the top Espada. Like, that freaked me out. Ichigo was like, what? We knew that he was strong, and I thought he was going to be at least number 2. But when he was 4, I was like, okay, I love my team. I'm panicking a little bit. But yeah, I love the two together. I still can't really read Ukiura at all, but loved it. Just wished it was longer. And we have the most disturbing moment probably in this story, and that is Orihime when she's in her cell. And those two Espadas, I didn't even bother to learn their names, Loli and Mioli, or Lolly and Miali. Why did they go in her cell and just start abusing her? I did not like it, especially the girl, Loli, I think that was the girl, was the worst. Why do they hurt each other so much? How are these people who are trying to make what they think is a better world or life or whatever the heck they're doing, why are they so cruel and mean? And then of all people, which I hate it because it makes me fall into liking characters like this, but Grimjow comes in and saves her. He saves her, literally destroys those two. He hurts them. And I will say I kind of felt bad for Mioli, because he was like, why did you attack us? And that kind of goes back to, I mean, I get why he attacked y'all. We're acting crazy, especially the little girl, but that adds to my confusion of why they all hurt each other. But I get why Grimjow did it in that moment. It was just kind of sad for the one who wasn't as nuts. But he helps Orihime though, because she healed his arm or whatever. I think it was his arm. And he says, now we're even. And he tells her to heal herself because he now wants to use her to go get to Ichigo. But Orihime says she needs to heal them first, and she heals them. She's going to change lives. Orihime is going to be be the one to bring people together. That was sweet, because I would have never helped that little girl. Maybe the little boy, but that little girl, absolutely not. She was horrible, but I'm proud of her, and maybe one day I'll be better. But until then, I will not. Then we have Ichigo versus Grimjow, which I'm sure it was a fight that a lot of people were looking forward to and enjoyed. I did enjoy it. I thought it was a little odd, the placement of it though, because we go from Ukiura, who is clearly, we just learned, not only stronger than Grimjow, but also we just learned that he is not even the strongest. So to go from him to Grimjow, we know that Ichigo can probably beat Grimjow. So I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about it, but it was still nice. And the best part about it for me, outside of the actual fight, was understanding Grimjow a little bit more. We get a look into his past, and he's wanted to be so strong for his own reasoning and what he's dealt with before. And then I feel like he's also maybe a little bit lonely. He kind of had a team who gave up, not on him, but on themselves. And I guess now he's not self-centered, but he only worries on getting strong for him and not, I don't know, relying on a team. I have to unpack Grimjow, but I do like his fight with Ichigo, and they both did have some good moments. And I feel for him when he lost. He wanted it, but I do see him and Ichigo getting along later, and so I like it. And Ichigo got this final awesome cut in. Grimjow's cool though, and I still think he has one of the best designs in this story. So we have like 2 seconds without a fight, right? And all seems kind of well, but no, it's not. We have Ichigo versus, oh my gosh, I cannot, Nonoitra. I know I butchered that one. This one, I didn't want it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, no, not another fight. But what a great opponent. I mean, he was very strong. And again, I go back to this idea of what are these people to one another, because he was about to take out Grimjow, or get him out the way, and Ichigo stopped him from hurting him. I was just like, what are you doing? I know Grimjow lost, but when people lose, they just throw them away like they're nothing, or take them to research labs. I don't get it. I was so livid as we learned more about him and Nell, and he lets us know that Nell, and this is when things slowly start to pick up, but Nell is, or was, or is an Espada, and I was so excited to hear that news. I was like, what? This layer, this twist? And we're going back and forth. And at this point, I'm really kind of disengaging with the Renji and Uryu and Aporo fight. I do find Aporo to be probably the most fascinating one because of everything he can do. But yeah, it just got so convoluted that I couldn't be all locked into that, but I must say he's fascinating. Now we pick up some more, right? Because we have Nell versus Nanoitra. So Ichigo is trying his best with this crazy man and he's losing. And eventually Nell transforms into her adult body. That was it was already one thing to know that she's an Espada, but for her to transform and to see how strong she is, how high she ranks, and this dude does not like this girl whatsoever. The amount of disdain he had. The thing is, it wasn't as if she wanted to beat him. It was like he would challenge her and lose. Yeah, she would admonish him because the dude would just go off like a wild thing whenever he was fighting, and she would try to pull him back and be like, yeah, you're not strong enough for this, which you're not, so relax. But what he did, it's cool in the sense of it's great to get strong, he would just get better and better. But then he got to the point where he destroyed this girl. He cheated, which is so frustrating, with Aporo, I think it was Aporo, right, who helped him and turned her into whatever she is, and she's still not even like trying to destroy this man, but she does. She fights him and she's winning. Nell is such a cool character, but then she turns back into a kid, and Nanoitra tells Tezra, he tells him to basically destroy Ichigo and is breaking Ichigo's bones and just throwing him around. It is a horrible sight. But this, you all, this is where the arc goes from okay to this is what Bleach is about. Ichigo is getting beat up. It feels like it's the end, and the most unexpected character pops up. It is Kenpachi. I literally jumped off my couch. I am going to say this, like I have to say this, the captain stole the show, because we don't just get Kenpachi, we get Byakuya, we get Mayuri, which I have so many thoughts about him, but the way Kenpachi pulled up, we see some of the lieutenants, I'm like, yes, and these characters are ready to fight. And it's bizarre because the Soul Society arc, I didn't even like these people for a minute, and I see them and I'm like, you guys are it. You guys are it. So that was just the best moment seeing him. It was so comforting, so exciting, and he's ready. He's ready to fight. And then Renji and Ryu are fighting and they're losing, and Mayuri, the dynamic of Aporo and Mayuri fighting, it is a gem, a dream of two psychos fighting. And I have to say, I am nervous that my opinion of Mayuri may be changing. I had to think about this because he was looking way too cool in this part, but I just remember what he did to Uryu's grandpa, and I can never forgive him for that. I can't. And he's also just so strange, but the way he pulled up and showed out, this man, when he was fighting, not only did he trick everybody into thinking he was actually getting injured by Aporo, he was just like, okay, are you done? Yeah, I'm not actually hurt. He has all these plans back up. He's so on top of it and strong, and then if he does get hit, he's kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I could use that for my research. Please don't tell me I'm gonna like this character, because he disturbs me and I shouldn't like him, but he was cool in this arc and I have to admit it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get to the best fight of this portion of the arc and the best part of this entire series so far. And I hope you know that is Byakuya versus Zomari. When he first pulls up and he sees Rukia, all he says is, did you do that? Like just analyzing like what he's about to do, but he's so calm and so chill. Zomari's like, no, but I was about to finish her off or something. And they go and fight. And even when it looks like he's losing, he's so just smart and calm and chill. And this man can use his eyes or whatever to control body parts. And Byakuya just like slices his arm, slices his leg, so there's no more control. And it gets better and better. His Bankai, everything about him is wonderful. And obviously he wins in the coolest way possible. This last part of their fight was so fascinating because Zomari's like, when he thinks Byakuya is going to kill him, he says, who do you guys think you are? Why do y'all think y'all can just kill us? Why do you think you're better than us? Yada, yada, yada. And at first I was like, Zomari, you kind of have a point. Not like I agree with you, but the fact that I never realized how they felt as Arrancars, Espadas, whatever they are, hollows, like how they feel about constantly being on alert for people trying to kill them or attack them. I thought about that, but misplaced, right? And Byakuya showed that because he says, "What makes you think I'm going to kill you because I'm a Soul Reaper?" This man finishes this off with the best line ever. He says that he is going to kill him because you aimed your blade at my pride. A moment of silence for how absolutely incredible, profound, every kind of adjective you can use to show what a powerful moment and statement that is. If there's a moment that can top that in Bleach, I will be very surprised. I'm not saying there's not going to be arcs and things that are not amazing, but that moment, I don't see anything topping it. I don't. Then we go back to the Kenpachi versus the Noitra fight. And Kenpachi is just cool, right? I love seeing that smile when he fights, especially the little parts that we got of his past and knowing what he's come from and also what he learned with his fight with Ichigo. So seeing him smile every time it looks like he's losing and he's like, okay, I learned something. Let's keep going. He's great. The fight went on a little bit longer than I would have preferred, but he's such a skilled fighter, and him finally using his big moment of using two hands on the blade and attacking, and it was both of them were very strong and wouldn't give up, and he took some slices. He took some hits, but he loves it. He loves it. And going back to Nanoitra, his death was pretty sad because he said he wanted to die, but by somebody stronger than him. I don't know. Again, that is a powerful moment and I feel something, but because there's so much going on, I wish I could have went into that a little bit more, or I don't know, but it did hit me. It did hit me, and hearing all the little that we get from some of these Espadas and Arrancars, all of it, I do want to know more about how they feel on the inside because it seems like a lot of them are very troubled, and we get little hints of that, but we don't know why or why they're even doing all of this. So there's a lot to unpack that I hope we get as the story goes on. I'm so proud of all these captains. I can't believe how needed they were, not just for like the fact that they can fight, but their presence, their energy. It's wonderful. And Mayori, he wins and he's insane. And just like Aporo, he has all these crazy layers to his fighting and somehow infects him through the thing that he put out and put into Aporo, or it ate Aporo. I can't remember. It was so crazy. But the true craziness is about to begin. And somehow in the midst of everything, somebody takes Orihime back to Aizen, of course. And Aizen decides to just make an announcement. Like, we're not all busy and hurt and dying over here. He's like, hey, just so you know, I never really wanted Orihime. I used this in order to divide the captains so y'all wouldn't be as strong facing us. And I am also about to attack Karakura Town. So, see you later. He didn't want Orihime. I was like, Aizen, why are you like this? But yeah, he's ahead. But I gotta say, our little Captain General, who I was not trusting because I didn't like that he wasn't gonna let us save Orihime. I didn't like that, even though I do get why he wants to do it logically, but it still made me upset. I still want to feel like I can't trust him, but knowing he had this plan, like seeing them pull up in Karakura Town, and then knowing that they have this fake Karakura Town, shout out to Kisuke, and they've shifted the fake one around. Although Aizen is like, yeah, but I'll just go and destroy the Soul Society. So what do you want to do? I'm like, why are you like this, Aizen? But it doesn't matter. Seeing our captains just show up and they're like, you want it? Come get it. I loved seeing them, and I hate that they're split up, and I don't like that everybody's stuck in Hueco Mundo, but I do love Ichigo's perspective because he kept wanting to get back to Karakura Town, but he's like, I just realized like my purpose is to protect my friends. His friends are there, so he's gonna protect them because now Ukiura, he's in charge. This is where I'm gonna really get to see, hopefully, so much more about Ukiura's personality and what his intentions are, where he stands with all of this. But either way, it's gonna be very interesting, and we have some of the captains there. This part, I am so excited about. So in conclusion, looking back on this, there were a lot of rough moments for me, but gosh, like the good moments were fantastic. I do think this was also lacking the visors and Shinji, so I can't wait to see, because I know that they separated Karakura Town, but I would assume the visors, Ichigo's dad, Uryu's dad, unless he's just minding his business that pays him, because he kind of is on that energy, but I could see them all joining, and I want to see them all fight. And the good thing too is that we haven't lost anybody, which I'm happy about. I would love a series where we don't lose people. people, I'd be completely fine with that. But this is, I just know this is going to be my favorite part of the story. Like my favorite moment, I think is going to always go with Byakuya, but I feel like this section of the Arrancar arc is going to be so good. And so yes, it wasn't a perfect arc. Okay, it had some of my least favorite moments, but it also had some of my favorite. And I'm happy to see where this goes. And the captains, I have so much more respect for. And I am going to stop talking so I can continue reading. But what did you guys think of this portion of the arc? Did you enjoy it? Did you not have any issues with it? Did you have a lot of issues with it? Were you just kind of indifferent to it? What were your favorite moments, your least favorite moments? Let's discuss all of it. This video has come to an end, but of course I'll see you all in my next video. Until you meet again, go read Bleach. Bye!